Welcome to Action, the podcast to encourage you to take action. I'm Virginie, leadership coach and speaker. In my podcast, I share with you the keys to leadership through interviews. Hello, awesome people. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome a friend of mine, Amber WONG. How are you, Amber?
Hello, Virginie. Hello, everyone. I'm doing well today. Thank you for having me.
To begin with, tell us about your professional background and where you're from.
Okay, so I'm a Malaysian, born and raised on the island of Borneo. I came to France when I was 18 years old and I studied engineering in Toulouse. After that, I moved to Paris for a specialized master degrees before landing my job now in TotalEnergies as a chemical engineer.
Okay. And how long have you been living in France?
And this coming June, I will be in France for 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes, I still find it hard to believe.
What was your state of mind before coming to France?
To be honest, I did not know a lot about France before coming here. I was around 18 at that time, and I think I only knew stereotypical things like the Eiffel Tower, croissant, and baguette. And at that time, I thought most Europeans, they had blue eyes and blonde hair. I think it's because of the Japanese manga. Yes. Which is not true at all.
No, not at all. I'm black. You noticed that.
Yes.
Okay. How did you end up in France?
So after my secondary school studies, I was offered a scholarship to study engineering in France. On my first year, I spent 1 year time in Blois to study French before moving on to the engineering school in Toulouse.
Okay. Have you ever worked in Malaysia before you came to France?
Not before I came to France, but during my internship in summer 2020, I worked in Kuala Lumpur for 3 months.
Okay. What were your first impressions of French after a year?
So as I mentioned, my first year was in Blois. It's a small town near the Loire River. It's not a very happening place, but I enjoyed the museums and castles around the area. I find that French people they appreciate historical and artistic works more than Malaysians, which is a very nice thing. Yes.
Okay. What made you stay in France?
So before my graduation, I took up the first job that I was offered. And at that time, it has an attractive pay for a fresh graduate like me. And I also wanted to enjoy Paris a little bit more.
Was it easy for you to make friends? And why?
So definitely throughout the 10 years, I've met many friends in France, especially from church and schools. But I must say that most of my closest friends are not French. I think it's because with foreigners, we've shared many similar experience living in this country, trying to adapt to this country, and we can relate to each other's struggles and confusion a little bit more. Yes.
Okay. What was your biggest culture shock in your life in general?
So for me, it's definitely the breakfast in France.
Yes, we talked about that.
Yes. So in France, you have a very simple, sweet breakfast in the morning with some viennoiserie and coffee. Yes. Personally, I prefer savory breakfast, and in Malaysia, I could say that we are very spoiled. We have countless choices for breakfast, and there's a breakfast place everywhere. So it's difficult for me to just have bread and coffee every day. So I often skip my breakfast.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about your life at work. Did you notice any differences between the way you worked in Malaysia and the way you worked in France?
Yeah, definitely. Speaking from my personal experience, during my 3 months in Kuala Lumpur, I felt that in general, Malaysian colleagues, they are more caring. They're quick to notice that you are struggling or when you need help, and they're always willing to share tips and advice with you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel a bit less of this character from my French colleagues.
Okay.
Maybe they're not used to doing it all the time. So in Malaysia, you will feel that you feel more supported by your colleagues at work. And we always almost bond really quickly with food. So with Malaysians, it's very quick. And I love it. In France, I like how my colleagues, they're always ready to talk about their vacation. So we don't do this a lot in Malaysia. I think it's a very nice thing because they will wish each other happy vacation when they're leaving. And when our colleagues return, we are always willing to listen to their vacation stories, which is really cool.
Okay. What was hardest to understand about the work culture in France?
I worked for American companies before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a very hustle culture. It's efficiency oriented. We like to say we must go above and beyond, and rewards come with your performance. In French companies, I find that they put a lot of importance on which school you come from.
Okay.
This will kind of determine your salary and kind of ensure that if you go to a good school, you will have a great career. This is something that I noticed. Maybe it's not everywhere. So maybe there's a lack of equality in opportunities there. And also I do think that French companies, they are striving to be the best, but somehow the meetings are very long and not very efficient. It's like we're trying too hard to be perfect, but we're afraid to try and accept errors. This is something that I experienced. And also, there's this thing my French colleague likes to say, esprit critique.
Oh.
So, from my background, I think that I used to think that esprit critique, it's critical thinking, where we analyze and make judgment based on what we see and hear. Then we come to a conclusion. But sometimes in France, it can be a bit judgmental.
Oh.
Like,
Okay.
people criticize for the sake of criticizing.
Okay.
And often we stop listening to each other, even though we probably agree with the same thing. People would just criticize and debate to prove that they are better than the other person. I think that French people, it's good that French people, they don't take it personally. But for people from other culture, it can be a difficult environment for them to come up to speak up their new ideas, especially when it's especially when you're not used to this culture. Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Oh. What was your relationship with your leaders? I mean, your boss, managers.
I think it's because of my Malaysian upbringing. I do take orders very well from my managers. I think managers in France and Malaysia probably have the same hierarchical relationship with people under them. So it's fairly easy for me to work with my managers. I do notice a difference between French and American companies. So in an American company, it's more of like a manager coach situation. So we have a lot of one-to-one sessions with our managers where they ask you about how you're feeling at work, how do you see yourself evolve career-wise in the company, what you think can be improved from the managers and your colleagues' side, things like that. In France, we have a lot less this kind of discussion with our managers. So when you have questions or maybe certain frustrations, you don't really know how you want to say it to your managers. I think it's probably a bit more difficult. Yeah.
Okay. How did you consider your work?
So I would say that I do quite well at work. I'm a fast learner and I can be gritty, which means I push myself to achieve a satisfactory result. And I think my managers and my colleagues, they appreciate that a lot. So this is also shown in my internship and work review. Most of the time they're very happy with my work. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about work in France?
I think that's a good work-life balance in France. The employees, they are not afraid to take vacation on off days to, how do I say, to spend time with themselves or their family. And, they are willing to take, coffee breaks so they could go back to work more efficiently after that. I think this is a very good, thing to do. And in terms of, workload, I think it differs from one to another. Maybe managers, they have a bit too much meetings. Sometimes I find it hard to find my manager because he's always in a meeting, and he would only work, I think, probably from 4 to 6 to replies to emails and then do his own work. So it's very different. Yeah.
Oh my
There's a lot of meetings.
Okay. How do you consider yourself? What do you think about yourself now?
In work life or in general?
In general.
In general, I would say that I'm not a people person. I don't get along with everyone all the time. But I always try to be helpful and keep my smile, whether it's at work or outside. So I think my friends and my colleagues appreciate that a lot. They think that I bring a positive vibe to the group. So this is pretty nice. I also enjoy the culture and the artistic, events in France, which is something that I don't get a lot, probably in Asian countries. So this is something I really enjoy in France. Maybe because of my Malaysian genes and, probably Christian values, I would say that I feel, French people, they're probably, colder than Malaysians.
Okay. Okay.
So it's hard to approach them for help. Yeah. Hard to approach them for help. I tend to approach especially Malaysian people or Asian people when I want help. Yes.
So, did you notice any difference between Parisian or, I don't know,
People from Toulouse?
yeah, Parisian, yeah.
Yes. I do think that people from Toulouse are definitely more warm.
Okay.
Like warmer people than Parisians. But I also think it's probably due to the fact that Paris is it's a capital city. People are hustling and they're probably very anxious about their work. Their mind are oriented towards work and themselves. So they have less time to care about other people. I think this happens a lot in most big and capital cities anyway.
So, Miss Wong, how do you
Yes.
see your future?
So I'm excited that I'm taking up this new assignment in Milan this summer in Italy. This is coming up, so I'm very excited for it. I would hope that in the future, I can keep working in companies that allow me to explore different cultures and places. I can learn more. But also maybe I'm a bit homesick, so I want to work in Southeast Asia one day to go back and enjoy my variety of breakfast choices.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Amber, for sharing your experience with us.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe to my channel, share and comment. I'll be happy to share another experience with you on the next podcast.